You are now live.
Awesome.
Da-da-da.
So I will join, and then you can just add me.
Wow, this
to.
is so cool.
So I'm going to turn down the sound on my Instagram so that I don't get confused. Oh, so I just did a request, send request, and then you can just add me in.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Cool.
Go live. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah. Whoops.
You declined.
I did? Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Whoops.
For those of you tuning in, give us a second. We're trying to add each other.
Technical difficulties.
Da-da-da.
Okay, add me again if you can.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get it to not slant.
Okay.
Okay, go
Just
live with
waiting
Street.
for you.
There we go. Okay.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You see what I mean? Yeah.
Whoop, whoop. Then we got some echo. Hold on. I might have a solution.
Okay. Hey everyone, hang tight for a second. We're gonna try to get some technical things sorted.
Let's try this.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can pin. Oh yeah, that should work.
But I still feel it still is. Oh, hold on.
So just, yeah, make sure the sound is turned down on your Instagram.
All the way?
Enough so that there's no like sound bleeding over from the Instagram to the Zoom.
Okay.
I think that works. Does anyone on Instagram, I guess there's only one other person, do you hear any, let us know if you hear any echo on Instagram. You shouldn't. And I will go live on Facebook, and I'll also tag you in it. Hi, everyone. Oh, good. Thank you for confirming. Okay, I'm going to go live on Facebook now. Everyone hang tight. We're going to just get some things going here, and then we're going to start our conversation. Oh, gosh, I don't know how to get my Instagram to, my phone to not tip over. I may need to hold it, which is okay. All right. Everyone, we're going to be talking about play and creativity in times of uncertainty. Okay. Okay, hold on. I'm going to put you down just for a second while I type.
Who we got on here? Hi, Patrick. Yeah, Brandon. Woo woo.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Sheree, I'm going to tag you on Facebook.
Perfect.
In times of uncertainty. Go. Whoop.
Katoot. Hello. He's my Bali driver. Louise, do you see him?
Hey, yes! Oh my goodness.
So, funny story, while she's getting ready, you guys, Louise and I actually met like 5 years ago.
Yes, almost.
In the Taipei airport on our way to Bali, both of us going on solo trips to Bali for a month. And Katut, who's on here, was our driver in Bali. That's so funny.
That is so crazy. Hi, Katut, all the way from Bali. Thank you for joining.
I love it.
Hi. Oh my goodness. I think we're live everywhere. Everyone, thank you for your patience. Hopefully, whether you're joining us from Facebook or Instagram, you're not hearing any echo. Let us know if there's any technical issues on your side. But Thank you so much for joining us. I have my wonderful dear friend Cherie, for anyone who didn't hear her little introduction just now. So Cherie and I actually met almost 5 years ago in the Taipei airport, both on our way to solo trips to Bali. And we just hit it off right away and ended up spending a lot of time together there and having lots of conversations around just personal growth and purpose, and in a way that made me know that I just had to stay connected with you forever. And I'm so glad we've stayed in touch over these years. So, how are you doing, my dear?
So good. I'm so glad that we're having this conversation. So fun. I love, love, love that we have stayed connected this long. Oh my goodness.
Yes, yes. And I just thought like this time is as good as any to reconnect with you and to just catch up, first of all, but to also hear about how you're dealing with this time. You are definitely one of those people that I look up to and admire in terms of how she expresses herself in the world and thinks about creativity and purpose and play, which I equate with all of those different things. So to dive in and to start, what was your life like before all of this started? We're both in California. This started pretty early for all of us. What were you up to? What was your life looking like before all of this happened?
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy. I was actually just having this conversation before this about last year. I actually decided to take half of the year off, essentially, to help care for my grandmother as she was dying. And I knew that it was going to mean 2020 was going to be a ball-busting, hustling year. And I was going to have to put everything in the arena and really go for it. And so come January, I was stoked. I had created a one-on-one coaching program. I had my ghostwriting services still, but I gave up all of the other content creation pieces to really focus on books. And I decided that I was going to create an online course so people that either didn't have the means to invest in one-on-one coaching with me, or they just simply weren't ready, would still have a solution to be able to write their books. And so this all happened, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, this will be great. At least I have the online course that people can buy, and they're going to have all this time to write books and And there were plenty of times throughout the process, which I'll let you lead me into whatever you want to know in that scope. But there are plenty of times in the process of creation where I was like, oh, fuck. Like that didn't work, and having to recreate and pivot. And it's been a really interesting transition because I had this thought in my mind that because so many people had been coming to me over the years wanting my guidance in regards to writing their book, that this would be the solution for anybody who couldn't afford me or didn't want to invest. Didn't actually happen exactly that way, though.
Nothing ever does, really, right? Ever. Yeah, and for those of that are listening that may not know your background, so you just mentioned books, but you have quite a bit of clout in the world of books, and just to give some people some nuggets around what that actually means. What's your background with books and writing and storytelling?
Yeah, so it's funny. I actually, I've been writing professionally for about 10 years now. And I started writing in the health and fitness space for magazines and like club industry and different companies and brands that were in that space. And my background is in TV and film and holistic health. I went to school for both things. And when I started writing professionally, it wasn't that I thought I would ever be a professional writer. It's just something that came really naturally for me that I really, really loved. And then fast forward a couple years after I began doing that, I had met somebody in the gym who we became close friends really fast. And he had a startup company, and he had asked me to ghostwrite a book for him on autoimmune disease, which was my background in my area of study. And without even like questioning it, I was like, sure, yeah, no big deal. And I wrote a book, a whole freaking book in 4 days. And I handed him the book, and he was like, how did you write a book in 4 days? I was like, I don't know, dude, it might be shit. You should read it. And if it's awesome, them. Like, we can have a conversation, but judge-free zone, and I will not take anything personally. So he read the book and he's like, oh my God, I absolutely love this. I have this startup company. I would love for you to come on board and build our content and creative teams and help me, build out our writers, our editors, our video team, write the video scripts, all of these things. So I said yes. And for 4 years, I was contracted with this company and I became his voice. So I ghost wrote multiple books of his. And in 2018, we were actually published with Hay House, which is the largest personal development publisher, book on mindset. And it was so exciting because it was a dream for both of us. And through that, I had written, over 400 video scripts in the space of health, fitness, personal development, mindset, spirituality. And I can't even tell you how many other things. So then I started writing for other brands. I left that contract 2 years ago, started writing for multiple other brands in the same space, and started building out these programs to help other people that were ready to get their words into the world. So I specifically work with, when I do ghostwriting or one-on-one book coaching, it's specifically with people that are in the transformational nonfiction space. So that means like the woo-woo section of the bookstore. My course, though, is for anybody who wants to write a book. So it doesn't matter your genre. And that's where I'm at now, 10 years later.
Oh my goodness. And it sounds like through working for that company that you really found your purpose in sharing stories and sharing other people's stories. And it became time for you to leap and fly on your own and help other companies with that, which is so exciting. And tell me what that was like, though, to make that transition to deciding you were going to help other brands and help them share their voice, but then to have this crisis happen in our world. How has that been for you personally to be going through that right now?
Yeah, so it's actually pretty fascinating because as I said, I thought that this course would be like the solution for the person that's at home that can't quite invest in one-on-one, right? Like, this is a really low ticket in comparison to like what I offer. And that is not what happened. And because I think part of it is because like the people that I work with are the light workers of the world. They're the spiritually minded. They're the personal development junkies, and they are all amazing humans. But so many of them are also empaths. And so they give a lot of themselves and overgive a lot of themselves. And because of that, I've found that a lot of them are stretching themselves too thin to the point where they're doing more than maybe, I don't want to say than they should, but they're doing more than they typically would. Their clients, though, cannot pay them. So it trickles down. And now over the last week, what's happened is my clients have all said, I can't pay you. So I'm like, okay, so we all have to still eat and live and all of the things. So how can we still all support each other and pivot in a way that still feels really good? And a lot of the people that have expressed a lot of interest in working with me over the years have now come to a place of like, I can't pay you. So I thought, oh, well, I have this course, take this. And if you get to the end of that and you still need my support, then I'll take the course cost off of coaching and we'll roll that in and we'll just start doing coaching from there. And it just hasn't happened that way. It's been like, no, you don't understand. Like, I really don't have money to pay anything. And, I'm going to believe them because they're my clients and I love them. But it's a really tough pill to swallow because the reality is like we're all in a knowing space. And I think more than ever, this is a place where we really get to trust not only ourselves, but the bigger picture and spirit, divine, God, whatever you want to call it, trust something bigger than ourselves, that there's something at play here and there's a reason this is all happening this way.
Yeah, yes. and that resonates with me, and I relate to that in a lot of ways because I also do work that has been severely impacted by this crisis in a way that it's really tested my faith and trust muscle that this is all going to work out in some way, shape, or form. And I don't know how, but it's just having that belief that there's something that this is all supposed to happen in its own way, and something's going to come out of it on the other side. But that faith and trust muscle is really hard when it's being challenged. It's really hard to trust it in times like this. So
absolutely. And I think that I love that you're honest about that, right? Because I think there's a point where we're all feeling that to some degree. We were talking before this about the first 2 weeks. We were like, yeah, this is amazing. We have all this time to create and do our thing and da, da, da. And then week 3 hits and we're like, fuck my life, what's happening? Right? Yes. It's still going.
Yep. Yep, that's exactly it. And how have you specifically been working through this? Are you taking time to just, be sad because this is hard? Or are you, pushing through and doing what you can? Because I've been back and forth, because I think I tend to keep myself busy sometimes to distract myself. And while that works for temporary times, in week 3, like we just said, it's hit me. And I'm realizing now that I do need to slow down a little bit. But how are you personally working through it?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to give a couple different answers to that. The first one, so I wrote a post today all about distraction, and essentially distraction creates numbness. And what are you not allowing yourself to feel because you're choosing distraction in the midst of all of this? Now, it's not a judgment. I'm not saying like you shouldn't do that, but is it actually serving you and moving you forward into the place that you actually want to be in, right? And the chances are it's probably a no. So I would offer that anybody who's feeling this distraction piece, who's feeling like they have to push right now, when I truly believe we are in a state of slowdown, and this is a gift to enjoy the pause. It doesn't mean stop creating. It doesn't mean stop working. It doesn't mean don't push if you need to push. But it does mean that we are being given this huge gift of grace to say, it's okay to slow down right now. It's okay to take a step back. It's okay to have a slower morning. It's okay to go on a walk in the middle of the day, and honoring that space while also getting things done. So for me, I've been in a very big creative space, but like yesterday was a really hard day when I had clients coming to me saying like, oh, I'm so sorry, by the way, I can't pay you, after I had just paid all my bills, paid my rent, all of these things. And that felt scary for me, and that's just the reality of it. I was scared yesterday. And a few days prior, I had my moment of breakdown where I cried. I cried for the world. I cried for this whole experience. I cried for, the women and the children that are in abusive relationships that are now at home with these people. I cried for the babies that aren't being fed. And I cried for myself too. And this scared feeling, this scared little girl really is what it is, that just wants to feel safe and protected. And that's a basic human need, right? The safety piece. And right now, a lot of us don't feel safe. And it's not because we can't get through it, because I truly believe that we will get through it and we're going to be better for it. But while we're in it, it feels really scary. So for me, I've just been focusing on, who am I serving? Why am I serving them? How can I pivot to still be of service and still support my inner knowing and what's going to feel good for me? And one of those things is being able to say, like, I need to continue to have boundaries, and I get to say no, and that's okay. And that feels good to me to say no. And you get to say more yes to yourself and take this time to have self-care. And I definitely have noticed like slower mornings, and I'm okay with that. And going to bed earlier, and I'm okay with that. And appreciating the pause and allowing ourselves to be in this state of slowdown and use it as the gift that it is, versus feeling like we're not doing enough or we don't have enough. Like, think of all the things that you do have, and how can you be instead of do in this space and show up better.
Oh my goodness, Cherie, that was, oh yes, to all of that. How are you, you mentioned boundaries. I think, what does that look like in this time right now? Because given that we're all at home, so we're already naturally within boundaries because of that. How do you intentionally put boundaries on within the boundaries that we already have, that were already being given to us, so that you can really work to serve your own self-care and to make sure you maintain that creative spirit within you?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is the reminder, and this is just something, quote it, put it down, write this down, because this is so simple. Like, no is a complete sentence, period. So if anything feels to you like it's not a fuck yes, then it gets to be a no. And in that space of no, knowing that you are giving yourself all of this room for all of the juicy stuff that actually feels aligned to your core essence to show up. And so that could look like if a client comes to you and says, hey, I still need this project done, but I actually can't pay you. There are some people out there right now that are saying yes. And I'm not saying that's bad, but I'm saying in you doing that and you showing up that way, are you actually honoring yourself and what you need to feel fulfilled in the value that you provide and the role that you have in this world? Or would it feel better for you to say, I still want to support you, let's work out a payment plan, and I will provide the work that I can within that context, but I'm not going to give you all of these things for nothing because I am also a business owner, right? So it's having the courage to say what feels good and not apologizing for your no or for your pivot because you don't need to. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when we're in scarcity mode, like a lot of people may be feeling right now, it's easy to compromise on our boundaries and to give in to that because we have that scarcity mentality. And not to say that that is right or wrong. And sometimes you have to do what's necessary. But taking that time to step back and say, okay, what is this yes that so to speak, where is that actually coming from? Is it coming from a place of scarcity or true desire to say yes? And that's the tough thing.
It's always asking yourself, is this coming from love or fear, right? Because the two don't coexist at the same time. So you have room in your body and in your soul for both to be present, but they're not going to dance together.
Yep, absolutely. So in this time, because I typically, like I mentioned, with my work, I'm typically producing for clients and I'm creating things for clients, but because I don't have the ability to do that right now like I typically would, I'm personally trying to use this time to create for myself a little bit, and to explore my creativity and to step back, with, whether that's with creative hobbies or like I mentioned, I'm loving TikTok right now and making videos on there, which has been really fun. Are you personally taking this time to be creative for yourself since you're not able to fully serve like you would typically, or are you just taking the time to just more do more self-care? What is that looking like for you right now?
Yeah, so I've been writing my own book for the last year and a half now, and I have kept putting it on the back burner because I'm helping other people, right? And I love helping other people, but I only have so much creative juice every day. So this has been a really good place for me to revisit that and come back into my writing practice and knowing like, this is all perfect. This is the pause that was necessary for me to come back to my own creative space, without having all of these other things coming up, which I love. I love all the other things. But this is also the time that I really believe that those of us that have a calling on our heart to write a book and are feeling that call and feeling courageous and brave enough to express that, the words that we put down on paper now will be even more impactful when all of this is said and done to get people moving forward and over the finish line of anything that they've been holding back. And I think that there's going to be a huge surge of people coming into the personal development space, digging into the inner child work, the shadow work, all of that. I hope so anyways. And I think that this is going to be a huge time for all of us to recognize that we're not separate. We've been operating like a bunch of assholes. We've been operating from an ego mentality and what's in it for me, when at the end of the day, it's about all of us as a collective. So now I really believe so deeply that stories are going to carry so many people through this time. And I would encourage anybody who has any sort of lesson, tool, anything that you believe could help even one person. That one person then helps another person. And that's how the ripple happens. And that's how we change the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And what an opportunity to take this time right now to really sit with your own story and to think about, okay, I've been probably going a million miles an hour with my life, like we all have, because our world has been spinning so fast. And now because we're taking that pause, what an opportunity it is to be like, okay, what have I been doing all with all of this time and all of these years I've been living? What have I learned? How can what I've experienced help someone or serve someone in some way or connect with someone on a deeper level? And what an opportunity to do that right now, to think about your own story. That's crazy. We don't ever get that time to do that.
And I think like for you, like your expression is dance, right? Like that's something that you love so much. And so that's also, there's a story in that, right? So it's not always that it comes out in voice. It can come out in movement, whatever your story comes out in, but to be able to have that space to express, what a gift.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yes. I think, yeah, to your point, I think expression and sharing of ourselves looks different for everyone. I just had a podcast interview yesterday with a guest, and he feels the most self-expressed he ever has. And he started a TikTok about ant farms, and
Wow.
it was so fun and lovely to hear him talk about how happy and joyful he is because he's able to be his goofy self and share all of his insecurities with the world, even though, yeah, and it's just such a delight. And it was so fun to talk to him about that. So yeah, I think we all just have so much in us that we want to express, and let's take the time now to figure out what that looks like for each of us. So any tips that you have to share, whether from your course or from just all of your years of ghostwriting for people, around how they can better share their story with others, how they can help find those little nuggets of wisdom to share from what they've experienced. And I know you yourself have experienced so much that you also used to share and impact others. Anything you know personally or anything you've learned from working with your clients?
Yeah, so I was actually interviewed last week, and I want to share kind of 3 points that I think are really valuable and important for people that are looking to be more expressive in their voice specifically. The biggest thing is do an internal audit and really deep dive into yourself and understand, like, who am I? At the core of who I am, if there was nobody around and I didn't have this ego trying to keep me small and being in this place of like doubting myself or uncertainty, right? Like authentically, who am I is how I'm showing up aligned with the core essence of who I am. I think the beauty in digging into your gaps is, or your deep diving into yourself and doing this internal audit, is you get to see the gaps that are still present and where you have space to still heal, and then getting to work. So that deep dive is super important. Another place is being unapologetic in your truest expression, because not only does that place allow for more relatability, but it allows for more connection. And when people feel connected to you, they trust you. And if it's business related, when they trust you, that's when they buy from you. So it's really a matter of going down this rabbit hole of, can I be brave in my truest expression and be okay feeling scared and doing it anyway? And then practicing radical vulnerability. So having the hard conversations, having clear boundaries, asking for what you want and need, and then allowing yourself the space to receive it. What I see so often, and this is in everybody, not just the creative realm, But I see a lot of women in particular operating in their masculine. And when we're operating in our masculine, it's the force, right? It's that I got to hustle, I got to push, I got to do all of these things. But at the core of who we are as women is feminine, which is the flow, which is the nurturer, which is all of those things that we've kind of forgotten. And like, side note, no wonder men are confused dating us, because they're like, I don't know where I fit. You're trying to be masculine and feminine, and at what point do I step in? So I think with the creative process, like the more that we can dive into who we are and really begin to fully love ourselves as we are, our dark, our light, the shadow, all of it, and being unapologetic in our truest expression, and then practicing that radical vulnerability, it translates into everything that you put out into the world, whether it's a social media post or it's a Twitter, or I don't have Twitter, so is that what they call it?
No, me neither. Yeah.
A tweet. Or it's writing a book, or it's dance. Like, it doesn't matter what that is. In all of it, it requires you to show up.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think the more that you fall in love with yourself, the easier it becomes to show up.
Mm-hmm. And to share your story unapologetically, the more you love yourself. Lucky 13 P. Montoya just said, being on Instagram, being vulnerable is so difficult. Exclamation mark.
Yes, it can be. And also, I would encourage you to check yourself, because that's also story. You've decided that that is the story that you are holding on to based on either past circumstances or what other people have told you. So, number one, I would look at, who are you following on social media, and are they lifting you up into a place where you're now feeling more empowered to share? And what would it look like for you to step outside of your comfort zone and say, you know what, I'm going to try it on just a little bit, and a little bit, and a little bit, and a little bit more every single day. And all of a sudden you will notice that you'll become transformed in the way that you do show up.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Just start with baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
Start with baby steps. Try it on. See how it feels. You know, celebrate that you didn't die because you were a little vulnerable, and then try a little bit again. You know?
Yeah, I tell people this all the time. I'm like, the first time you do anything scary, you might pee your pants a little bit. And then the next time you might pee a little less. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you're going to just all of a sudden stop peeing your pants, and it's amazing, right? Like, no more diapers. It's great. Like, I can do this. But in the process of like pissing your pants, piss your pants, and just be okay with pissing your pants.
And just love yourself anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, yay. Oh my gosh, Cherie, you're so amazing. I'm so excited to see all the amazing people you help bring their stories out into the world, as well as I can't wait to read your book when it's out.
Thanks, love.
I hope you're able to just take this time to focus on that a little bit while this all passes. Whenever that will be.
Yes.
Any last words to share around just how to get through this time? If how to think about play and creativity in this time, in a time that feels so uncertain for so many of us right now?
I think that is like the ultimate place to play and be creative. We are in this time of, I have no idea how long this is going to last, what it's going to mean, how we're going to get out of it. And instead of trying to focus on creating, an outcome and making it happen your way, releasing, surrendering, letting go of how you think that it's supposed to look or should look, and instead embracing each moment for what it is and being grateful in every single moment. If you've been wishing for however long that you had more time in the morning to, go for a morning walk or have a morning dance party, which I've been doing lately, and it's super fun. If you do have time now. And even if you're somebody who is blessed enough to still be employed at this point, and you have meetings during the day, you still likely have a little bit more free time. So in that free time, what are the things that you've been putting off? Because here's the deal, and I say this with books especially, if you're not going to do it now, you're probably not going to do it. Like, you're just not. There is more time now than we've ever had to be alone. And if you're not allowing yourself the space, my guess is that you're probably in the distracting phase and you're in the numbing phase versus the feeling phase. And
Yep.
human beings, we're not meant to just feel happy. As humans, we're meant to feel all the things. So instead of judging the sadness or the grief or the anything that's coming up that feels quote unquote negative, embracing those things as the gift that they are and using them as fuel towards play and creativity. And that can look like whatever you want it to look like. It doesn't matter. Just doing something that gets you feeling the feels that you want to feel, right?
I can't tell you how many people have said to me whenever I do talk to them about what play and creativity looks like for them. So many times they'll be like, oh, if I only had more time, then I would do X, Y, Z, be playful, play my guitar, write my book, do this. And now look at what you have now. You have the time. And so what a gift. But if it's still something you don't want to do, then maybe it wasn't, like you just said, something you wanted to do to begin with. And now, if anything, you have freedom to let that go. And to recognize, oh, you know what? That was never a priority to begin with. And you can let it go. And you're even more freed up now to figure out what that is that you would be doing with your time instead. So
yeah, and I think it's such a great place for you to get honest about the things that you thought you wanted to do that you're finding yourself still not doing, which means they weren't a priority. And then saying like, did I want to do that because, you know, my mom wanted me to do it or my husband wanted me to do it? And then being like, fuck that, because I don't want to do it. And so I'm not going to do it. Boundaries. Right?
Amen. Yes. Oh my goodness. I love you, my dear. Thank you so much.
I love you so much.
And let's do this again. It can be on live again, or it can just be on Zoom whenever.
Yeah.
I adore you. And thank you so much for jumping on with me. And I know I feel like this week has been tough for me, but I just feel so much better after having these conversations. And so thank you for jumping on with me.
I love you so much. We're going to get through this, girl.
Oh, we will. We will. And all of you who are listening, I hope, just know you're not alone and you're also going to get through this. We're going to do this together.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.